There is a new Star Wars show in town. What did Bob Iger tell us?
He said he was going to focus on quality over quantity, and then he said he was going to focus on telling stories, not messaging.
When I came back, what I've really tried to do is to return to our roots, which is, remember, we have to entertain first. It's not about messages. And I've worked hard since I've been back at reminding the creative community, who are our partners, in some cases our employees, that that's the objective. And I don't really want to tolerate the opposite. So if anyone has accused us of being political when it comes to that, they're just dead wrong.
Maybe this got greenlit before that.
Yeah, this definitely feels like, oh, fuck, that thing is still in the production cycle.
It doesn't feel like the drug addict taking one last hit before they quit.
It does. It's like, we're going to stop being so woke. But first, we're going to take all the woke into the hotel and snort it.
As much as we possibly can, as fast as we can. So many criticisms to level against this production.
We should at least try to summarize what the show is about. So we've seen the first 3 episodes, right?
Yeah, the third one is a travesty of mankind. It's some sort of revenge type story because there's a dark Jedi woman who is getting revenge on Jedi, hunting them down. So she kills Carrie-Anne Moss, spoilers, in the beginning of the show. So that's kind of like a Game of Thrones like thing because she was in all the marketing materials and you expect her to be a big character and they kill her off right away. So then it turns out like they're trying to search for this assassin and they find her twin sister, spoilers, but she's a twin sister who's like the good one.
Ooh, twins. Which one is the evil one?
And she's a mechanic. So the Jedi and the Squid Games guy he's like just learned English for this role. And he said he's basing his performance on Qui-Gon Jinn. I don't know if you've caught that. But yeah, he learned English for this role. It's crazy.
That's cool.
He's not bad. I actually don't think he's that bad.
No, he's the closest thing to an actor in this thing.
He and his Jedi friends like take in the good Jedi twin, or the good the twin of the assassin. Jeez, man, the plot is escaping me as I talk.
Yeah, I was trying to describe it to Nina, and I got like 10 seconds in. She was like, "This sounds terrible." And I was like, "Wait, I haven't even described it yet."
The Jedi are like weird cops in this show. It's strange.
Yeah, and they're kind of like low IQ cops. Like it seems to me like the bar to be a Jedi is very low.
Like the Law and Order shows or the NCIS or something.
The best comment I heard about this show is that it's Sith propaganda. I cannot wrap my head around how bad the writing is. It's incomprehensible to me. If I can sit down and do a pass on your writing and make it better, I am not a talented writer by any means. I could have punched up and fixed that writing. There's these great memes about like, May is dead, I saw her die. And then 3.5 minutes later, May is alive, I believe you. And later on, Jedi are good, Jedi are bad. Terrible, terrible writing.
What was the last Star Wars thing you've seen, John?
Mandalorian.
Okay, so you didn't watch Ahsoka or...
No.
Did you watch all 3 seasons of Mandalorian?
I watched 2 seasons of Mandalorian. I did watch Boba Fett. I did not watch Obi-Wan. I do have an interest in this universe, despite all the work they're trying to do to make it a miserable universe.
Yeah, I didn't know you were ever really a Star Wars... Like, would you call yourself a Star Wars fan?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm more of a Star Trek fan to rile up that old debate, but I do enjoy Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, when I talk to people, they're often like, "Oh, I haven't watched it in a while. I'm sick of it. It sucks."
Yeah.
That's what the average person seems to think, and it's certainly not what they thought when Disney bought it.
So the other sister, the evil sister, she's trying to kill the Jedi. So she like kills the meditating Jedi. She like goes and tries to kill him, but he has like a force field. He's been like sleeping in a comatose state for 10 years or something. And then she like gets poison and then talks to him. Then he like drinks the poison and dies. I don't understand any of that. Anyway, so the Jedis and the good sister are trying to like track her down while she's doing all that. And it's like really embarrassing. Like, I don't know, there's like that obese Jedi too. And he's got that thick British Cockney accent or whatever.
Before the gatekeeper droids failed, they caught this little scoundrel messing about our port coast.
It feels like, those epic movie things because it's shot flat. And I expect Borat to come out any moment and go, nice. And then like he like chases the fat Jedi.
It feels cardboard for sure.
It feels weird. They're all standing around the frame awkwardly like those parody movies.
I will say, like, anytime Dave Filoni directed directed anything on his shows, it was similar. So I think he's part of this. And Dave Filoni has since become the creative head of Lucasfilm, and he should be quite embarrassed by putting this out, honestly. Like, I think this is the first thing he put out in his new role.
I think he should be ashamed of himself.
The Acolyte is very much an action-packed mystery in the world of Star Wars.
Leslye takes you on an adventure that lets you inside what she loves about Star Wars.
Yeah, the only redeeming quality I could find about this is I do think that some of the art direction was good. Some of the aliens and the costumes I think were fun and interesting. Good to see some variety back there, but that's really like the only bright spot.
Yeah, well, they said they didn't use the volume for this.
I believe him.
So they built all these sets and shot them so boringly.
And keep in mind, it's like 1.8 Godzillas per episode is what they're paying. $22.5 million an episode for this show.
I really don't know where the money goes, truly.
No.
Oh, I do want to say that Leslye Headland hired her wife to be a Jedi, and she is the worst actor in the show.
Leslye Headland is the showrunner, John, and her wife is the green Jedi that's bald.
The green bald one. And she's like so stiff. She's the stiffest thing. And people have to act like, especially the Korean guy. I feel bad for him. He's like acting opposite of her. And she's just like worse than a soap opera actor. She was just so stiff.
It feels like she won a raffle at like a college and she gets to be in the show.
She gets to be in Star Wars. So then we get to episode 3, which is a flashback.
Yeah, 40-minute flashback.
So the other ones are a half an hour. This is 36 minutes. And I have 6 minutes of credits, which amazes me that anyone would put their fucking name on this. So you see like the twins when they're younger, and you can tell they're the same people because they have the same Rick James haircut. They're in a coven of witches. They have a different name for the Force. They call it like the thread.
And by the way, they call witches, and they call it a coven.
You think you want something different than life in this coven?
To protect the secrets of our coven, and to protect the secrets of our coven.
I am Anastasia, mother of this coven.
We mean you and your coven no harm.
I told you this planet would be safe haven for our coven.
That's how we become witches. I don't know if I want to be a witch.
Witches who have the abilities we do.
I don't want to be a witch. What's wrong with you?
And I'm pretty sure like Dothamir sisters had kind of already established witches in Star Wars.
So yeah, they're doing their own witchy thing down here, and it's revealed that the twins are conceived by witch magic between two women.
I carried them.
I created them.
And then the Jedi come down, and they're like hiding behind trees and shit. So stupid.
So dumb.
They're like watching the two girls, and they're like, oh, I think we want to train them. So they like approach the witches. They have this like weird witch ceremony, which is the most embarrassing like musical thing I've ever seen in Star Wars.
Chant. Oh my God.
Do you want to sing it, John?
We are one. We are two. We are many. Yeah. Wee! Oh! I don't remember what it actually is.
Close.
But that's
pretty close.
The power of one, the power of two, the power of many.
It shocks me because it's so easy to improve that. Just make up an alien language and put subtitles. This is so easy. $22 million and nobody can tell you that?
Yeah, you could have just made like Dothraki language.
Yeah,
and it'd probably like the scene would be better.
Yeah, it wouldn't be great, but it would be better than the power of one.
Well, again, it was shot in like this very like what looked to be a warehouse with some smoke.
Cramped.
It looked like like sometimes in cities they have these like raves or whatever, and like they'll wear costumes. It was like that.
It definitely felt like a fine arts experimental stage production that, there's a lot of empty seats in the house and stuff.
And so the Jedi, they approach the girls and they're like, we're going to give you a test. And the witches are like, I don't want this. And
in a really awkward exchange, by the way. The dialogue doesn't flow to each other's roles. Like the Jedi was written by someone other than the witches. Like, very strange.
And so they give the test to the two girls, and the evil twin fakes the test, and then the good twin doesn't want to and does the test for real and wants to choose to be a Jedi. And then the evil sister gets mad and takes, was it like her journal, and lights it on fire and somehow throws it somewhere and that explodes the whole mountain or whatever.
The entire stone building goes up in flames. Obviously they're leading us on, and there's something else that happened with these Jedi or something.
It's some mystery box shit.
Yeah, exactly. But still, the premise is still stupid. It's still like laughable.
In the episodes before, it seems like the Jedi feel guilty about something and the sister is trying to murder them like out of revenge or something. But then when these things happen, it's like the Jedi didn't really do anything. They're acting like Child Protective Services. That was kind of weird, but there must be something else going on there. That was it. Torben, he kills himself for some reason, so he feels guilty about something. But nothing in the events of this flashback showed me anything that they would actually feel guilty about.
Yeah, I'm sure we're going to see this episode again from another perspective. Is what I'm thinking.
Oh, I can't wait. Well, I'll tell you one thing. I don't appreciate being told that the demons who are using black magic to create life are the good guys, actually.
The two girls are just written so annoyingly the whole way through, continuously interrupting the flow of the show.
I won't let you leave. You can't go. We're stuck here now. It's not up to you. You can't stop me. Yes, I can. How? I'll kill you.
The other thing that really struck me as I was watching it is the twins have presumably lived with these witches their whole lives, and they don't seem to know anything about the way that this world works. Very shallowly written and doesn't make a lot of sense.
Did you ever watch Star Trek Discovery, John?
I did.
Didn't that have kind of like a overly modern, kind of cheap television vibe to it?
It both is expensive and cheap looking at the same time.
Yeah. People have been saying like it's like a CW show. I totally agree. It feels like that.
That's right.
Well, I'm finding it fascinating. There's a lot of people out there that don't want to hear you bitch about Star Wars. I'm enjoying myself.
Yeah, there is some Madam Webness to it, I guess.
The thing that's going to keep me coming back each and every time is when the audience resoundingly tells you, we don't want what you're giving us, and you keep giving it to them. I want to see how long that goes on for, and I want to see how long people continue to try to defend it. You remember like Stephen King was defending the Marvels, but he didn't even see it? This is kind of like that too. I'm seeing a bit of that. There was much ado about a showrunner's a lesbian, and so they were calling it the gayest Star Wars show ever. And I said, look, if you want to make the gayest Star Wars show, you're going to need Zero the Hutt. Do you know who Zero the Hutt is?
I do not.
He's an animated character from the Clone Wars. He's Jabba's uncle, and he has Truman Capote's voice. Oh, Jabba, you're going to be able to bring over to Tatooine.
I had no choice. Dooku said he'd kill me if I didn't help him kidnap Jabba's son. You have to believe me. I love that, Hutley.
Jabba's gay uncle. Give me the Zero the Hutt streaming series tomorrow. I will watch your gayest Star Wars.
Run for it!
I saw that interview, and it was really just the interview being like, this is the gayest Star Wars. Yeah, I remember just seeing the first 2 episodes and being like, you could go gayer. Everyone's just stiff and humorless. It's like, this isn't that gay.
I mean, you could tell a gay story in the Star Wars universe. Imagine that, rather than this crap they're pumping out.
Get the pervert who did X-Men 97 to do this, and we'll have some gay Star Wars, baby.
Him plus Zero the Hutt, I'm in. I am there.
Thanks, Mama. I got some important business on tap.
Capote the Hutt.
It would be more popular.
I'll leave you with this for now. I'm sure we'll return to the show as the news headlines continue to roll in.
As the critical drinker keeps making money.
Another day, another Star Wars.
Another day, another chance to witness the horrific spectacle of Disney prodding and kicking the bloated corpse of Star Wars.
If you were Disney, you might consider canning this show. You might consider not putting this on the air because all it does is hurt Star Wars. I don't know. Yeah. Like, does it even bring in any money, this thing? Does this bring in one extra Disney Plus subscriber? Does it sell one toy? A single toy?
They are coming out with toys.
Really? There was a quote from Leslye Headland, the showrunner. So again, this is about a year ago when she got the gig or when she was just starting shooting or something. So Leslye said, this is like what we understand to be Star Wars. The idea that that only came from George Lucas.
But that only George Lucas holds the key for what we understand to be Star Wars is just untrue. And I think the prequels are an excellent example of that. I mean,
the idea that when you are hiring a director, that everyone is sitting in there waiting for George Lucas.
And not for the person who's going to know to hire Ralph McQuarrie, that's the problem. That's the misogyny and the problem with the auteur myth.
Because they're not thinking this is the person that will hire the right people, and this is the person that will be able to create the lookbooks and direct people to get them to that place.
They're just thinking, do you have all the answers? And the truth is that nobody does, and anybody that says they do is lying.
my gosh.
Well, she definitely wrote the show, that's for sure.
Incomprehensible, it's barely understandable.
I think what she is getting at is kind of a little bit of a war on competence. What you need is somebody who can hire others. I'm more like an idea person.
Well, we're really more sort of idea people, you know?
Yeah, ideas. Yeah, ideas.
Ideas.
Good ones.
I'm just here to kind of push everything forward.
We'll all awkwardly gather on set and something will happen. Well, that's the thing is, like, what has Leslye Headland did before this? It was fun seeing, like, before the show came out, they were already calling the audience bigots for rejecting it before it came out. So I knew that was a good sign.
Like, this thing's going to be a banger. She was a producer on The Bachelorette, a show called Sleeping with Other People, Almost Family, Russian Doll, Single Drunk Female.
Remember when you'd give these franchises to talented filmmakers?
Or why not just give it to a safe filmmaker? Like somebody who'll just make something that's like C+.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they used to do with Marvel. Remember they like gave Captain America to some journeyman. They don't do that anymore.
Why would any company want to make this? Is it because of the PR? Any PR is good PR?
This seems to me like Kathleen Kennedy had a friendship or a relationship with this person, and they had a common goal together, which was to try to turn this brand toward a different audience than it had ever had before, and they both disliked the current audience. That's what it looks like to me.
But the audience you're kind of hit with this, right, is so small. Why not try for a bigger audience?
Yeah, and that tiny audience isn't even going to watch this.
Why did they make the Marvels? Why did they make She-Hulk? Why, like, it goes on and on.
I don't understand. I've had it explained to me over and over again, and yes, I get that they're trying to be a cultural turning point in the way that media is made.
They thought that the audience was going to show up, or they thought that they could bait and switch it.
How many times are they going to think it? It's been years of them doing this, and still, for some reason, nobody's holding Disney accountable for making poor quality entertainment when they're an entertainment company.
Well, you might say, well, it's because the audience keeps watching. Well, obviously not. They're not watching the show, actually.
No.
But Disney Plus continues to be perfectly successful for Disney.
And their parks.
And so if you look at what people are watching, it's Grey's Anatomy, it's The Simpsons, Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, Bluey. So they're bringing in a steady $8 billion a year from Disney Plus, and that gives them a lot of latitude to try things out. And I really do think it's their goal to culturalize a new audience and to try to kind of filter out the old audience. I think that's just part of like the company's mission. Probably they're going to course correct eventually, but I would have thought they would have started to do that about 3 years ago.
Yeah, but yeah, this just seems to be more buying in deeper. Of all the shows that I've seen or heard about, this is the most poor quality in multiple aspects.
If you're going to propagandize me, at least make it like good to look at.
And I think what adds insult to injury with there is that 2 years away from this thing getting made, you would know that this would be the worst possible project from a million miles away. And it's like, hey, let's invest in that.
I'm really interested in Star Wars from the perspective of the bad guys. Therefore, if we set something earlier in the timeline, something before the prequels, but a little bit after, end of High Republic, I was like, then the Jedi become, because Star Wars is always about rebels versus institutional threat, right? Underdogs versus huge empire, right? So if we set it then the Jedi become the antagonists. It's not the bad guys, but they become the bad guys to the bad guys. And I gotta say, Kathy really responded to that.
I mean, and the strange thing is, you can forward your agenda by just casting almost no white people, right? Which they did, right? There's almost no
but Black Panther did that, right? But it was actually a pretty good movie.
But you could have just done that and otherwise made a really kind of milquetoast Star Wars production, and you would have moved the needle in a better way than with this mess.
A lot of times they'll say, I don't think these things are bad because they're political or because they're ideological. Yeah. I think they're bad just because they had bad writing, and that the ideological aspects of it might be good in a different show or something.
I disagree, but
yeah, it's like, well, first of all, like, ideological propaganda is not the most artistic thing in the world in the first place. No. I'll concede that there are lots of shows and movies about a lot of political topics that are fantastic. So the presence of politics does not disqualify something from being good, obviously.
And obviously anybody who writes anything has a viewpoint, and it'll probably leak into what they're writing.
The problem is when your primary objective is we're going to advance a political agenda, then when you go and you hire somebody who's going to advance the political agenda, you're not hiring for talent. It was baked into the pie that the selection process for the creative people working on it wasn't going to be the most talented people. So they got somebody who wanted to subvert Star Wars. So you might say, what was her qualification? Her qualification was she wanted to subvert Star Wars. And I don't understand what's so thrilling about subverting like a fairy tale.
Yeah, subverting something you paid a lot of money for.
Yeah, that's the thing, is you paid a lot of money for this. Traditionally, Disney was considered a girl brand. It was Disney princesses. So they bought Marvel to solve that problem. They bought Star Wars. And then this is what you do with them? It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, with both of them.
I wonder too, like, could you have re-edited this thing and made it a little bit better? Probably not.
No.
You know, I think Ahsoka is not a very good show. I think it's a lot better than this. Like, a lot better.
Yeah, this is the rising tide that lifts all turds.
Yeah, people longing for episode 1 again.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, I was really hard on Solo.
Yeah.
This really is a problem, though, what you're describing, which is that, like, we throw standards out the window. Sometimes you end up in this existential mind trap where you're like, what even is a movie? And have I ever liked them?
Until a couple in recent years to kind of refresh me a little bit and get me back interested in movies again, I was like, whatever movies are, it's not for me.
For me, like, the Holdovers did wonders on me.
Me too. Even though, like, it's a good movie. It's a good, solid movie. Yeah. It's not an amazing film.
Like Godzilla -1.
Yeah.
It recalibrated me.
Everything Everywhere All at Once also did that for me.
X-Men was pretty good in that sense, too. Although, I did very much like it, but there's still something just a little incongruent.
I definitely enjoyed it, and it was interesting. But yeah, I get you. There's something
off. Driving Jean to the hospital to have a baby.
Yeah, I think some of the rushed plot lines where they're rushing through, like, I don't know, a decade of comics in one episode or whatever.
I did do a couple of like RPG campaigns during COVID with my friends on Zoom, and there are a couple of characters from those campaigns that may or may not be in the show.
We were on the brink of extinction.
Subscribe to Red Cow Entertainment on Patreon for full episodes every other week.